Shalom and welcome back to the tea table, my friends. I believe today's sharing is going to really be an eye-opener for many of you as it was for me. As I've been reading through the Old Covenant, specifically 1st and 2nd Kings, I was amazed at the number of times I read concerning king after king after king the phrase, "And he did evil in the sight of the Lord." As I read the history of Israel, there are 23 kings, and probably 90% of them did evil in the sight of the Lord. And many of the ones that we are told, and he did what was right in the sight of the Lord, weren't completely good, because we are also told, however, the high places were not removed. According to Scripture, the only kings that removed the high places was Josiah and Hezekiah, who destroyed idolatry in Judah, and that can be found in 2 Kings 18:4 and 5. He did right in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his father David had done. He removed the high places and broke down the sacred pillars, and cut down the Ashtaroths, which was the goddess of motherhood and fertility. He also broke in pieces the bronze serpent that Moses had made, for until those days the sons of Israel burned incense to it, and it was called the Nehushtan. A great question is, what are the high places? Well, high places, very simply, were places of worship on elevated pieces of ground or raised altars in lowlands such as a valley. High places were originally dedicated to idol worship, and these shrines often included an altar and a sacred object such as a stone pillar or wooden pole in various shapes, and they were identified with the object of worship for animals, constellations, goddesses, and fertility deities. The Hebrew word for high places is Bama, and no, not Obama, although, well, no, let's not go there. This word refers to a pagan religious worship area. These high places were usually located on natural heights such as hills and mountains. Interesting, God's hatred of the high places when the Israelites came into the land of Canaan, where they were ordered to destroy the high places of the people who lived in the land, for fear that the Israelites be tempted to worship the Canaanite false gods and accept their immoral behavior. The Israelites were to worship God and only God, and at the place and location chosen by God. So I ask you, my friends, if you were a king in Israel, what do you believe the history books would have said about you? In other words, and I'm going to use myself as an example, would history have said, Don did what was right in the sight of the Lord? However, Don didn't remove the high places. He went to church on Sundays, and he tithed as normal practice, and he helped others in need and spent time in the presence of God and said the right things and did the right things, but he didn't destroy the idols in the high places that were in his life. Idols? Don has idols in his life? You know, the Lord spoke to me and said, "Son, you can't love me with 100% of your heart if 15% is someplace else." You see, my friends, that 15% is always located in the high places. And whatever it is, or whatever they represent, they are the idols in your life. And just so we understand what an idol is, another name would be obsession or favorite or hero. And we are told to put to death, therefore, what is earthly in you: sexual immorality, impurity, passion, evil desire, and covetousness, which is idolatry, according to Colossians 3, verse 5. As children of the living God, we are warned, little children, keep yourselves from idols, 1 John 5:21. Why are we warned? Because idolatry is something that we can easily fall into. And why is that a problem? Because those who pay regard to vain idols forsake their hope of steadfast love. We find that in Jonah 2:8. What exactly do they mean by steadfast love? Well, it means dependable love, or unswerving love, or trustworthy love. You see, my friends, idolatry is really a big deal because God will not share his throne with anything or anyone else, especially useless idols that we deceitfully think are important. Psalm 115, verses 1 through 8 tells us, "Not to us, Lord, not to us, but to your name be the glory, because of your love and faithfulness. Why do the nations say, 'Where is their God?' Our God is in heaven. He does whatever pleases him. But their idols are silver and gold, made by human hands. They have mouths but cannot speak, eyes but cannot see. They have ears but cannot hear, noses but cannot smell. They have hands but cannot feel, feet but cannot walk, nor can they utter a sound with their throats. Those who make them will be like them, and so will all who trust in them." In other words, mankind has exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images resembling mortal man and birds and animals and creeping things. Romans 1:23. And we all know that this is true because we watch television and we see billboards celebrating and idolizing people or objects or jewelry and so many other objects. God is not pleased with the way things are going. If he were pleased, he would have never told us, "And I will cut off your craved images and your pillars from among you, and you shall bow down no more to the work of your hands." Micah 5:13. So the thought-provoking issue now becomes, what can be an idol in our lives? And just to be helpful, here are a few suggestions. Family, money, jobs, education, intelligence, possessions, and self. Anytime we worship anything other than the living God, we are guilty of idolatry. And yet, we are encouraged to come. Let us worship and bow down. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker. Psalm 95:6. Even Jesus, the King of Kings, tells us, "It is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him only shall you serve." Luke 4:8. My friends, the problem with idols is they go as fast as they come into our lives. Big houses burn down, money can be lost, health can vanish due to so many causes, and jobs can cease to exist. We're told in 2 Peter 3:10, "But the day of the Lord will come like a thief, and then the heavens will pass away with a roar, and the heavenly bodies will be burned up and dissolved, and the earth and all the works that are done on it will be exposed." God is forever, and he and only he is worthy of all our attention, our praise, and our worship. He is a God that has eyes and can see, ears and can hear, and a mouth that can speak. And if we truly want to love him with 100% of our hearts but don't know how, a simple prayer would be, "Lord, I love you, help my lack of love. I trust you, help my lack of trust. I believe you, help my lack of belief." He is a God that cannot and will not turn a deaf ear to the cries of his children. And with that, I leave you with this. Yevarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha. Ye'er Adonai panav elecha v'honecha. Yisa Adonai panav elecha ve'yesemlecha shalom. The Lord bless you and protect you. The Lord cause the light of his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn all of his attention to you and give to you the peace of God. God bless, my friends, and I'll see you again next week at the tea table.